Yesterday, we got word that Mike McDaniel has been fired from as head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and that was a little bit surprising to me. Now, early in the season, obviously, when he had that horrific start to the season, I thought he should have been probably fired at that point. But he ended up turning it around at the halfway to the end of the year. Obviously, ended up getting a decent record. I believe they went 7-10 on the year, or 8-9, one of the two. Ended up having a decent record. It sounded like he was going to be safe, and they ended up moving off of him yesterday. And according to Ian Rappaport, the Lions have reached out to him about their vacant offensive coordinator position. Sources say McDaniel is the top candidate for any open OC job. Now, this is very intriguing. This is very intriguing for multiple reasons. He is obviously a brilliant mind when it comes to play calling. Now, here's my thing with Mike McDaniel. He's got a very interesting vibe to him that I don't know if he fits the Detroit Lions. Clearly, the Lions think that because if they're already good, because this was posted a couple hours after he got fired, so clearly they do think there's obviously he fits us. But I'm just surprised because he's a very interesting guy. I will say that if we do end up hiring them, it's gonna kind of suck to listen to his press conferences. Though I mean, I'm sure this is nothing against it, but he's got a stuttering problem, and it's gonna be a little bit repetitive to listen to that. But there's nothing he can't control that, obviously. But he's also makes a lot of dad jokes in there, and it's just they're not very funny. I'm not gonna lie, it's not Dan Campbell humor, but he's just a very interesting guy. But he is a great play caller. He is a fantastic play caller, obviously. Former head coach now of the Miami Dolphins, former offensive coordinator as well, obviously, and was obviously the play caller for the Miami Dolphins, and that's his best. That's where he's at his best is play calling. So, and that's exactly what we need. So this is very intriguing. Obviously, now this is the second coach that we've now heard that we've reached out to. Obviously, David Blau, the first one, and now this is the second. And would I be fine with us hiring Mike McDaniel? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. He did a lot of formations, moving formations before the snap with men in motion. Very creative mind. He's a very creative mind. And I think with Jared Goff in our offense, he could exceed very well. Now, this, in my opinion, could go two ways. This could be a horrible hire, or this could be a great hire. There's no in between. I think David Blau would kind of be an in between. Or horrible. I don't think he would be good year one. I'm not going to lie. I don't want us to hire David Blau. I really don't. I think he's a couple years away from being an offensive coordinator. But Mike McDaniel is very interesting. I could see him being a very good offensive coordinator, and an elite offensive coordinator for us. Matter of fact, at that. And this would allow Dan Campbell to go back to being the head coach, being the leader. I mean, not that he wasn't already, even when calling plays. But this is going fully back to being the leader. Worrying about clock management, which in my opinion, I still think somebody should take that. We should hire a coach that just does time management because he doesn't know how to do it. And that's the worst thing about Dan Campbell is his time management. He doesn't know how to handle it correctly. I don't care if it's David Shaw. I don't care if it's somebody outside the organization. We need to get somebody to worry about the clock management. But obviously, Dan Campbell's probably still going to be the man to worry about the clock management. And that would allow him to focus heavily on that, obviously, if we were to hire an offensive coordinator to take over play calling. Because Dan Campbell did not rule out taking over play calling and keeping it for next season. He did not rule it out. But Mike McDaniel is very interesting. This is a very, very, very interesting reach out by the Lions. And I'm assuming they will go out and interview him. I would very well assume so. The question is, will Mike McDaniel take a head coaching job somewhere else, or will he be an offensive coordinator? Now, in my opinion, I think he would just stick as an offensive coordinator. I don't think he gets another head coaching job, but he very well could. Now, obviously been in the league a long time. Like I said, his career coaching record is 35-33. He was the San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator before. Obviously exceeded very well there. Had Jimmy G as quarterback. I'm pretty sure he appeared in the Super Bowl when he was offensive coordinator there with Jimmy G. So this is a very interesting move. It really, really is. And I think it just comes down to, does he fit us? I think that's what it comes down to. And the question is, will he be an offensive coordinator? Will he get hired as a head coach somewhere else? I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I think if he does not get a head coaching gig somewhere else, I think Detroit has to be his number one option if he wants to attempt to become an offensive coordinator, or head coach in the future again. I think Detroit has to be his number one option. With all the weapons we have, and we always love using the extra linemen. We always love using that. I think he would be very good at using that extra lineman if he were to come to Detroit. So I think there's a lot of potential here. And if you were to keep David Montgomery still, if David Montgomery does not get traded, which I fully expect him to, but if he does not get traded, that makes this even more intriguing. So with that, I want to probably go Lions. This is pretty big news though. It really, really is. If we hire Mike McDaniel, this really does believe that Dan Campbell, I think, is going all in this offseason. And then the question at that point, is Brad Holmes really going to do that? Because after watching his presser, I don't think so. But who knows? Who knows? Obviously, Dan Campbell probably has the main say in who's hired as coordinators. But Brad Holmes obviously has a say as well. But it will really say to me that Dan Campbell is going all in for next season. The question is, will Brad? So we'll find it out, though. It'll be very interesting if Mike McDaniel comes in to be offensive coordinator. One to hate it, one to mind it, one to love it. Be kind of split. I'd be more happy than not because he is a great play caller, but I just don't know if he fits us like that. But I would probably be happy with this. I would still prefer a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, but this is probably now the second best option on the market. I think another guy to watch out for is John Gruden. Probably a long shot, but I would love John Gruden to be offensive coordinator. Like those would be my top 3 targets. I just don't think John Gruden's realistic. So I don't know who my third guy would be. Probably Kevin Stefanski, maybe. Would probably be my third option, or a quarterback coach or wide receiver coach from the Rams, Seahawks, Patriots. One of those 3 probably. But Mike McDaniel and Cliff Kingsbury, definitely my 2 guys I'm keeping out for the most. But Cliff Kingsbury, I'd be ecstatic about. I'd be happy about Mike McDaniel for the most part. But we'll see what happens. One probably go Lions. Pretty significant news, though. Pretty significant offensive coordinator news. We'll see what happens.